It's interesting. I wonder, why is that life can cause you to crumble, but it does not destroy you? That is because there is something in you called the power of life itself. And it's actually indestructible. That presence is indestructible. So no matter how difficult life gets, there is something coursing through each of us that can always overcome a set of circumstances. You know, last Sunday, my talk was titled, Speak Your Truth, It's Time. And in that talk, I offered a strong critique of the Christian church. The Christian church that presents itself as progressive and yet holds policies that marginalize its members. At the conclusion of that talk, I shared 7 statements of belief that I wrote for our community. And they're rooted in our principles, and I want to share them again with you. We believe as intrinsically connected organisms. It is our responsibility to care and tend to the most vulnerable among us, such that all of humanity may experience material peace and comfort. We believe entitlements are our collective moral mandate to a loving and just global society, ensuring access to food, shelter, education, and health care. We believe diversity of race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, and religion demonstrates the most glorious aspects of God. And the multiplicity of our unity is celebrated through our differences. We believe the transgender expression is holy, ancient, mystical, and worthy of celebration, a divine appointment that stirs uniquely in the soul. We believe a woman has dominion over her uterus, is divinely guided to determine the future of her fetus, and has agency over her entire body. We believe evidence-based practices demonstrate the evolution of human consciousness and greatly advance our understanding of this vast universe. And we believe science-based research is essential in addressing climate change and caring for our planet and its resources. So, you know, the bubble in which I live writes those statements with ease. And they don't occur for me as groundbreaking. They occur for me as like basic. And yet what's interesting is that putting those forward created a conversation that I did not completely anticipate. And so I found myself in some dialogue on Facebook around where in the Bible it talks about the transgender experience. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today, although it is very interesting. I got a phone call from a guy who works on our website. His name is Chris Plunkett. And as we were talking about my talk, he said, Lola, I really need you to meet this guy named Tim Schrader. Tim Schrader actually used to work at Hillsong. Now, if you remember, my talk last Sunday was of the very sexy pastor in the very small bathing suit who leads Hillsong in New York. So it was quite ironic that so swiftly I was being introduced to someone who ran almost their entire communications strategy and lives in Chicago, ironically. Now, this man, Tim Schrader, has worked in the lead position of communication efforts for every essentially large mega church and evangelical minister whose name you may be familiar with. And I was like, wow, that's really curious. So quickly, remember, when you're walking in your purpose, life starts to show up because you become a resonant match for life. You become a magnetic field for that which you're here to be about. So all of a sudden, Chris said he created this project called churchclarity.org. You should check it out. So instantly, I'm on the computer, churchclarity.org, and this is what I found. This man has left the dream that he thought he was here for because he has stepped into being an openly gay man and could no longer be in collusion with these church efforts that violated his personhood. And so he created this project called churchclarity.org. And what they do is they assess or score church communities in where they stand from a policy perspective. So they have published 616 churches, 67 of which are undisclosed, specifically around their policies on LGBTQ community members. 229 churches, the largest category up there, is unclear, meaning they don't come right out and say what they believe, but their policies are non-affirming. So all kinds of folks are coming to the church not actually being fully recognized for who they are. Do you get that? Well, I found this project to be very interesting. And Rainbow was like, we got to get on that website because we would be in the verified clear. We are clear about where we stand. And, you know, my finite mind was like, well, but we're not a church, so I don't know if we'd qualify. So I tweeted this guy right away, and I was like, hey, I just found out about your website. It's amazing. You sound like an incredible human being. I want to meet you. I heard it's possible that you may still be in Chicago. Is that true? And can I meet you? And he wrote back instantly. He's like, I am in Chicago. I am free. Let's meet. I've heard about Bodhi for years. I was like, wow. So we met on Friday, and I was giddy. And what's fascinating, again, just to reiterate the obvious, is that when you are walking in your purpose, doors just begin to open. Now, this man had a purpose of and for his life. He was born in Peoria, Illinois. He knew that he was gay at a very young age. He spent 8 years in conversion therapy, working away the gay. He has spent a lifetime navigating the complexities of his purpose. He has built the largest voices on the planet that are in direct conflict with his identity. Isn't that ironic? And 2 years ago, he said to himself, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot live in such conflict anymore. And he birthed this project. So, you know, Rumi says it like this: everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put into every heart. We cannot understand why our lives go the way they go sometimes. We cannot understand why the challenges we are facing are such that they are. And yet the invitation of this philosophy, of this community, is to trust that everything in your life is designed for your high and holy purpose. So Tim Schrader, being birthed in Peoria, Illinois, the son of a pastor, and knowing that his identity is in direct conflict with the world around him means that his soul pressed through into this dimension of reality for very holy work. So my intention is that we explore our theme this month, which is titled Power and Purpose. And the idea is to remember that there really is a unique idea for your life, that there's a divine appointment for each of us, and it is unique. This design or this appointment for your life is waiting for your continued fulfillment. In The Science of Mind, which is a great text that we reference here often, there's a glossary in the back of the book. And I want to read to you what it says about the word power. Power, the energy by which everything lives. Every time man thinks, he sets the law in motion. He is specializing it for some definite purpose. So every time you think, you are dancing with universal law, which is the creative medium of all life. It is the medium through which you create the world that you experience. Every time you think, you set the law in motion, and you're specializing it for some definite purpose. The law is always operating. Either we are in conscious use of it, or we are in unconscious use of it. There is neither competition or monopoly. It leaves each to work out his own salvation, not with fear and trembling, but with a calm sense of peace and assurance. Man may transmute as much of the infinite energy into degrees of power as he chooses to use. Anytime you see a word that is capitalized, consider that that is synonymous with God, presence, universe, life, spirit. What is exciting to me about this is that there is neither competition or monopoly, because you are an individualized manifestation of all that is. And if there is a unique and holy idea that only you can fulfill on the planet, then there is no competition. There's nothing to fear. So you can walk in ease and certainty and conviction of the fulfillment of your divine destiny. That is very good news. There's an incredible book titled True Purpose by Tim Kelley. If you're not familiar with it, you might choose to check it out. Tim Kelley talks about purpose in three aspects. He says there are three aspects to your purpose. There's your essence, there's the blessing, and there's the mission. So the essence is the most fundamental aspect of purpose. It's your pure being. It's the subtlety, and others can sense your essence more easily than you can. Your essence. It is not the job you have. Your purpose has three aspects to it. Your essence is the qualities most native to you. So just take a moment and reflect on yourself and see if you can identify your essence. It's the quality that exists even when you're sleeping. It requires no effort on your part. So for me, one of my essence qualities is power. It's just right there. I'm sleeping, and I know Nathan's like, oh, shit. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But there's a quality that you have. It's like you walk in a room, and you didn't even have to open your mouth, and people feel you. Perhaps it's grace. Perhaps it's love. Perhaps it's harmony. Perhaps it's balance. You know, Nathan's essence is calm. And I benefit from that hugely. Then there's the blessing, the bridge between being and doing. When essence moves into action, it's your unique process. You are doing it all the time without realizing it. So power may be my essence. Fierce is the way it comes into action. I have a fierceness about me. Nathan has a patience about him. He has a patience, he has a discipline, he has an order about him. My blessing is an interruption. You can see these are two vastly different essence qualities and blessings. Where are you? What's the blessing? What is the unique way that your essence comes into action? And the third aspect is your mission. A specific task that needs to be performed. A specific application of your blessing and essence. So what is your mission? You will have many missions on the planet in your lifetime. I used to work at Bank of America Investment Services. And my mission in Bank of America Investment Services was distinct than my mission at Bodhi Spiritual Center. The tactics were different, but my essence and my blessing was the same. There came a time in my journey at Bank of America Investment Services where I knew my work was complete. And I was being profoundly called to Bank of America retail banking. This was right when Bank of America acquired LaSalle. And if you talk to anybody in the banking world, they will tell you the retail bank is the armpit of banking. Why, Lola, would you ever want to go from the broker-dealer into the retail bank? In other words, why would you want to go from the folks that have money to the folks that don't have money? Not a lot of opportunity there. But it was my mission. Something in my soul was calling me into the retail bank. I got to manage some of the largest banking centers throughout the city of Chicago. You want to know what I got to do there? I got to work with tellers on personal development. I got to work with bankers on personal development. I got to work with sales and service specialists on personal development. I was readying myself for my next mission. There is always a purpose of where you are in any given moment. When I was at Bank of America, I was called to create the Hispanic Organization for Leadership Advancement. Now, I am an Irish girl, but something in me felt drawn to help birth the Hispanic Organization for Leadership Advancement. It was an affinity group for Latino employees at the bank. That was my mission. When I got to Bodhi, it was Good Friday of 2014. And I was looking at one of these mega churches online. New Life Covenant Church, one of the largest churches in the city of Chicago. And I was reading Pastor Choco's bio. And all of a sudden, it was like a stroke of something came through my body. And it was an instant experience of awakening. And the insight that I had was I am on the planet to lead a spiritual community. And I called Reverend Mark Anthony at the time and was weeping on the phone. And I said, I have something to tell you. And he said, what? And I said, I am on the planet to lead a spiritual community. And he's like, that's amazing. Does that mean you have to leave Bodhi? And I said, no, it's Bodhi with you. There was a clear mission, one of the things that he and I have always said is that despite how swiftly he left, and despite how unexpected it was, there was a perfect succession plan in place that neither of us could have ever designed. That is how your purpose works. It will take you over if you surrender to it. So, Tim Kelley says it like this: the question of purpose is about what you are designed to do, what you're meant to do, not what you like or dislike doing. That is very important. My guess is that Tim Schrader did not like having to interrupt his cozy, cushy gigs with many of the most influential pastors on the planet. That was highly inconvenient for him. And yet, his soul was pressing through. I first got the call to ministry when I heard Michael Beckwith speak in 1999. And I had the experience watching him speak and seeing him feet away from me. I don't know who that man is. I don't know what he's talking about. Whatever that is, I'm supposed to do that. And it took a long time to surrender. But every aspect of the mission was in service of the next mission. And it doesn't mean it's comfortable. So I have some suggested questions that you may consider asking yourself this week. Because I so often hear, I don't know what I'm here for. I know that there's a high idea of and for my life, but I don't know what it is. You do know what it is. You might be resisting it, but because you can't figure out the budget. You might be resisting it because, like me, there was a part of my ego structure that was highly embarrassed by saying I wanted to be a minister. That just seemed so weird to me. But you actually do know what's yours to do. If you're wanting greater clarity, here are some questions you might ask yourself this week. When are the times in my life when I've felt most passionate? When are the times in my life when I've felt most fulfilled? When are the times in my life when I've felt my life has had the most meaning? When are the times in my life when I've felt most aligned? When are the times in my life when I've experienced ease, flow, synchronicity, and serendipity? You could journal on these. Pick 2 or 3 of them this week and ask yourself, what brings me alive? Where does time disappear? Eckhart Tolle says there will come a time where the word work no longer exists because all we will experience is play. We will so completely surrender into the high idea of who and what we're here to be that it will overcome us. You know, I was very clear that I was called to this role. And I remember reaching out to each member of the board when the board was charged with figuring out what was next for the role of spiritual director here. And I met with every single one of them and I said, I am called to do this work. I believe that this is mine to do. And almost every single one said some version of, honey, we've been waiting for you to say that. And then I'd weep. Likely there are people in your life that you could out yourself to, and they would say, honey, we've been waiting for you to say that. The challenge is, as Tim Kelley writes, the mission is the scariest aspect of purpose, and usually the last to be revealed. Most people have mixed feelings about having a mission. They both desire to have the meaning and guidance mission provides and fear the responsibility such a task demands. For this reason, the soul is often reluctant to disclose the details of the mission. If the mission is disclosed prematurely, the ego could, out of fear, shut down progress towards the purpose. So I had the stirring in 1999 of who I was here to be, and then everything from that point to 2014 was readying me for that. Had that occurred in the moment the clarity was struck, the ego would have corroded the mission. So you might just ask yourself, why is it that I keep finding myself vague around who I'm here to be or what I'm up to? Because it has a great responsibility that comes with it. There is not a world changer on the planet that said yes to their mission and then experienced great degrees of comfort. I can't think of one. I can't think of one who has said yes to their mission and said, that was a real breeze. So why would that be any different for you? Why would you saying yes to your mission be easy? It wasn't for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. It wasn't for Nelson Mandela. It wasn't for Mother Teresa. It wasn't for Johnny Coleman. But for you, it'll be easy. No, doesn't work that way. Because your becoming requires the agitation. Your becoming requires the sandpaper. There is a high idea of and for your life. It's unique to you. No one else has it. No one else can bring the expression of life that you can bring. So this month, as we delve into your power and your purpose, be in inquiry. You aren't here for the accumulation of goodies, although those are fun. And there's nothing wrong with them. It's just not the high idea of who you're here to be. You're ultimately here to serve humanity in some nuanced way, as only you can do. So I look forward to introducing you to Tim Schrader. I asked him if he would come here and be a guest speaker, and he was so excited. After we met on Friday, he listened to my talk, and he sent me an email, and he said, Lola, I'm sitting here weeping. This is the message that I have been looking for my entire life. He said, I'm on a church detox, and this is right up my alley. I also want to let you know that I sent the talk to Ari Melber at MSNBC. And he wrote back and he was like, great, I can't wait to listen to it, and I'll keep you in mind. And I was like, that's all I need, buddy. That's all I need.